Okay, everyone. Well, welcome to the Agiloft webinar series. I'm your host today, MaryJane Skjellerup, Reseller Partner Manager at Agiloft, and a former public sector policy wonk turned business tech contracting enthusiast. Our guest today is Brittany Parker, Vice President of Sales at Periscope Holdings. Brittany has extensive public sector software solutions experience, working with government agencies seeking to gain savings and efficiencies through eProcurement transformation. She's a graduate of Brigham Young University and is joining us from beautiful Austin, Texas. Welcome, Brittany.
Thank you so much, MaryJane.
Also joining us is Jason McWilliams, Senior Solutions Consultant, Periscope Holdings. And if time permits, Jason will walk us through a demonstration of how Periscope's procurement products leverage the Agiloft contract lifecycle management solution to deliver the best of both worlds for our public sector customers. Today, we are talking about how state and local governments were recently awarded $350 billion in stimulus funding, with a $304 billion infrastructure roads bill currently on the table. In addition, diversity and inclusion programs are top priorities at public sector organizations across the country. Government procurement is at the forefront of all of these initiatives. In 2019, Agiloft and public sector procurement solutions leader Periscope Holdings launched a strategic alliance to help bring the very best of eProcurement and CLM for our public sector mutual customers. Periscope Holdings' leading eProcurement technology works with our Agiloft leading CLM solution to transform public sector procurement. And our public sector customers are using that powerful suite right now to compliantly spend stimulus dollars, purchase goods and services to improve infrastructure and roads, and enable supplier diversity. But before we dive in, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. We're aiming for a 20 to 25 minute discussion followed by questions, which our audience can pose in the Q&A. So just look for the Q&A icon in your Zoom viewer, and we'll do our best to get to everyone's questions within the time we have and follow up on any we can't squeeze in today. So let's jump in with the current state of public sector procurement. So Brittany, can you tell us about the public sector atmosphere like right now?
I can. Well, first, I want to start off by saying thank you for having us today, MaryJane. We're really excited to be here. You guys are a great partner, and we appreciate the relationship with Agiloft. Everybody, I'm sure, is tired and worn out from the last year, and public sector was affected just like everyone else. It was tough. I mean, the people that we were trying to get in contact with, that we work with regularly, they were having to shift from, being in the office to working remotely. And a lot of these people didn't have laptops like a lot of the rest of the world in the private sector gets to enjoy. So they were literally having to order computers. Obviously, PPE was top priority for public sector as they were responsible for delivering all these PPE goods to cities, counties, county hospitals. So it was a tough year, but Periscope was fortunate enough to be a part of the solution. We were able to stand up an emergency marketplace for the public sector. Some of our clients and people that weren't clients that were just in a bind that said, hey, we're working remote now. We need to figure out a way to get sourcing out the window and to get some of these contracts awarded. So we were able to stand up a sourcing environment, an emergency marketplace. And so it was a challenge. It was a whirlwind. It was very busy and chaotic. And I'm sure many of you, for those of you that are on the line from a public sector entity, you're finally starting to get above water. That's what we're starting to see. And for those of you from the private sector that may be on the line, probably about this time last year, you're still trying to contact your people and folks that may work for a city or a county or government, and you weren't reaching them. It's just very different. So now people are finally starting to get above water, and we're starting to see a great momentum and a shift in priorities because, they've been able to get PPE and emergency supplies under the belt. So it's really interesting because we mentioned the stimulus money. Mm-hmm. And, there's stimulus money that's coming down the pipeline, and a lot of local governments are trying to figure out, oh my goodness, how are we going to manage all of this? And that's something that we're able to help with eProcurement solutions, and really from a contracting standpoint. People are going to be more focused on how do I spend this money and how do I report on the spend? Another thing that we're seeing, MaryJane, is we're seeing a lot more attention, and rightfully so, on diversity and inclusion initiatives. Before there have been different initiatives that have hit the market in public sector, but now more than ever, we're seeing a lot of promotion of different supplier segments and making sure that those funds and that economic engine are going to support some of these different diversity groups and classifications.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our public sector folks right now who are listening to you and shaking their heads furiously going like, yes, Brittany, we're emerging from our cocoons. We've had our heads down on just kind of, making sure that we're actually addressing this public health crisis, right, in our communities, in the places where, they live themselves. But now, they're looking up and they're saying, yeah, we can see the wave coming, and maybe a little bit nervous about how best to, tackle this from a digital transformation perspective. What are some of those, key challenges that your customers are coming to you, to say, help us solve, right? Like, how can we, begin to address and prepare ourselves? What are some of those common challenges that you're being asked to address and that the Periscope solutions help them achieve?
Sure. So I'd say first and foremost, transparency. Especially when there's really large contracts in place, people want to make sure that everything is transparent and there's nothing going on behind closed doors that's inappropriate, right? So transparency is always critical. I'd also say contract oversight is another area that people are coming to us with. What we found is oftentimes people have sourcing under the belt, right? So they may have done sourcing manually in the past. The pandemic's gotten them to at least manage that electronically. And now they're ready to go to that next phase, really oversight of the contract and how do we manage that electronically and not have that be such a manual process. I'd say that the third thing would really be how to manage the stimulus money or grant money that's coming through. Being able to report and say, here's how that money was spent, here's how we utilized it. And most people don't have a tool for that. So being able to have the technology to support that. And then, of course, just being able to really procure more efficiently.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think, that's really where people are getting the best of both worlds, where you started to talk about the contract management and the obligation, right? Are we actually getting all the discounts and everything that kick in, from our sourcing opportunity? You spend so much time and effort making sure that you're sourcing from the right supplier, right? And wanting to make sure that you're, the public dollars are getting that maximum efficiency from that. And that's where I think that, the power and just the public sector experience that you guys have at Periscope, and really, most of your team are actually former public sector procurement officers. So that's super exciting. And then being able to leverage the Agiloft technology, right? And the contract management expertise to help, make sure that obligation management and those insights are being driven back into the Periscope product so that those sourcing agents can make sure that, not only are we selecting suppliers wisely and with all the diversity initiatives in mind, but also being able to deliver on the sort of making sure that every single aspect of that contract is fully realized.
Yep.
So, we mentioned also, the stimulus money's coming through, the infrastructure initiatives. We all can agree that, we certainly are looking at, rebuilding and especially focusing on our roads, our bridges, all the things that we need so that business can operate in our country. So how is Periscope positioned to help, the public sector with being able to capitalize on those infrastructure initiatives?
Sure. So really it goes back to, being able to track everything and being able to report everything and being able to get your end users what they need when they need it. I think we're going to see a big snowball and windfall where people are seeing, it's in the news. This money's coming, right? And they know it's there and they're going to expect things faster and sooner because in the past, sometimes budget has been a hurdle for them. Like, I didn't get approval for this because budget's been in the way. Well, they're seeing these funds come through. And so they're seeing, hey, this money's there and I need what I need now, right? So that's one of the ways that we want to be able to help. We want to get the end users what they need in a timely manner. And really, in my opinion, I like the term, sometimes I say it takes one to know one. And you mentioned that some of our staff here, they have public sector background experience. And it takes public sector background experience to know what's exactly needed, right? And all of our products are built with that in mind. So what I mean by that specifically, transparency, right? Transparency is very important in public sector. We have established everything so that there's accountability to the taxpayer. You can go onto any of our clients' sites like Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Combuys, and you can actually see on the landing page what contracts have been awarded, what spend to date has occurred against those contracts, all the supporting documents behind those contracts, RFP documents, license, different various things that are required. That's all there. You can also see what departments are spending against those contracts. So that transparency is really, really, really important. It also gives suppliers the ability to go in and see, hey, this was bid on a year ago, and I see it's going to be up for rebid in a year. They can go see very quickly the contract details, the RFP, the evaluation information, and that's going to help them become more competitive in their next bid and their next solicitation that they submit in a year. So that's one thing. Transparency is really, really important, and our tools support that. Also in public sector, controls are king, right? And what I mean specifically by that is, you have to be able to accommodate multiple and very complex approval paths. You're not just going through one department, two departments. Oftentimes in public sector, you're having to pass through 8 departments, right? And you have to have certain gateways in place and certain security walls in place. And that's something that our technology supports as well. I would say another thing that we're able to help serve with is really providing an equal playing field for the supplier community. And what I mean by that specifically is that every business gets an equal opportunity to not only compete for business and win that business, but also to have the contracts utilized. Sometimes what we see are contracts that are awarded to small mom and pop shops and also big box suppliers. And at the end of the day, the technology doesn't support helping those small mom and pop shops. The technology is very easy for the large, big box suppliers. So we like to make sure that our technology is set up in a way and configured in a way where all suppliers can easily load their catalogs, and they can easily shop. The end users can easily shop off of those catalogs. So that's another way that I think the technology will help support things in this initiative, in this area. Go ahead.
Well, and I was just wanting to turn to as well, you mentioned that the importance of making sure every supplier has the opportunity to compete, right? And to take advantage of sort of all these stimulus dollars and making sure that is, again, helping to create jobs for the American public. So tell us a little bit more about how the Periscope products can help with the supplier diversity, right? And making sure that, of course, the sourcing has insights to see what's the wide range of suppliers that they have available to them. And some of you're doing there.
So the technology is offered in a way where it's very configurable. And an organization can track any sort of supplier classification, diversity classification that they want. And so we go in and we allow an entity to track, let's say, minority-owned business or women-owned business or LGBTQ businesses. They can actually track all of that during vendor registration. At that point, that allows the agency to flag which organizations they may have set-aside initiatives for. And they can make sure that they're invited to solicitations. We can track the response rate of these different diversity groups. We can actually, and what that allows is for us to be able to produce a report that says, here are the people that were notified. Here are the people that responded. Your response rate in this segment may be low. Why? Let's help you. Let's go reach out to this, segment of the suppliers and help educate them maybe on how to do business with the county or how to do business with the state. We also have a small business engine that will actually certify different certifications that a public agency may track. And that's done automatically so that within the registration process, they know, yes, I certify as a small business, or no, I do not certify. And so there's not this waiting game going back and forth. I would say another thing that we provide is guided buying. And what I mean by that is oftentimes a public agency is going to have certain goals, you know, X% goes to this vendor subset, right? But they have no way to really promote business to them. So we've developed a marketplace where they can actually drive their business, guide their business towards certain goals and initiatives that they have in place. Based on whatever, you know, projects or initiatives they have, we can configure the marketplace to kind of guide that buying that way. And of course, reporting wrapped around all of that. So there's a lot of cool tools out there, and the CLM tool powered by Agiloft really helps promote all of that as well. You know, we link our contracts within our catalogs, so all the information is there.
Yeah, so let's turn to that now. You know, I think that's where this partnership and this strategic alliance for us is so powerful, because we know we have public sector customers where, you know, the purchasing drives a lot of the contracting process, and having your very specific expertise working with the public sector, you know, really it just allows us to bring so much value to our customers, and especially for your best-in-class e-procurement solutions. So let's turn to that integration and talk a little bit about that. And I think, yeah, we might be able to maybe see some of it in action.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can. In fact, I think we're good in terms of time. We went out and scoured the market, right? So we're a best-of-breed e-procurement provider. We provide a full procure-to-pay suite. We provide just a sourcing suite. We provide a marketplace. We provide a reconciler. And we really listened to the market. And we heard people that may have been using ERP systems to manage their contracts, may have been using an e-procurement tool to manage their contracts. And they're saying, this is great. We have best-of-breed procurement, and we really want a best-of-breed CLM tool as well. So we scoured the market, and we found Agiloft, which, you know, in all the reports and Gartner's and all the other analyst reports, that's what they bring to the table. So we are really excited about this partnership, and we leveraged a standard integration framework to be able to integrate our two technologies, so we can bring to market powerhouse between eProcurement and CLM. The one thing that we recognized, though, was that it was really important to bring in the CLM piece well before the contract was even beginning the negotiation process. Mm-hmm. So in procurement and public sector especially, you're often building those contract documents before the contract commences, right? So in that bidding process, in that formal RFP process. So we built out the integration in a way where we can start sooner in the contracting process, in the bidding process. So that's some really cool stuff that we're able to develop out. And we also have CLM integrated throughout the procurement lifecycle. So Jason, if you want to go ahead and show kind of some of those touch points at this point, I think it makes sense to show that.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much. You know, this has really been an enlightening discussion about how Agiloft's partnership with Periscope can help our public sector customers leverage the best in e-procurement and contract lifecycle management. So I want to thank you for this discussion. And yeah, let's turn it over to the Q&A. And we do have a couple of questions here. One of the first questions is, what is a typical size of a Periscope customer? I know you guys work with a range of different public sector customers, so.
That's a good question. So I'd say there isn't one too small and there isn't one too large. Typically, though, when it comes to some of our larger enterprise-wide solutions, so a full procure-to-pay solution, we're typically looking at a population above 400,000, 350 to 400,000. We can absolutely come in and deliver, you know, Agiloft or a sourcing tool for people that are smaller, but that's kind of the threshold of full procure to pay versus kind of looking at things in silos and separately.
We have another question here. Do the Periscope solutions integrate with ERP systems?
They do. That's a great question. So obviously you guys have seen how easily we were able to integrate with Agiloft. We have the same capabilities to any ERP system. So rest assured, we've integrated to modern ERP and old mainframe systems.
Great. And we have another question around Periscope and the different pricing modules for your different solutions there. Is that something that they can reach out to you directly to connect with you guys and learn more about that?
Yes, please do. In general, we typically price things out based on population. However, with Agiloft, it's a per user based approach, and so we do take into account users in certain modules and features, but we kind of scale it based on population as well.
Great. Great. Well, I don't know that we have time for any more questions, but certainly if there are others, we will be sure to get them addressed. And yeah, just wanted to take the time to thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Jason, for your time today. It's really been a great conversation around some of those public sector initiatives, around creating more jobs and bringing Americans back to work, and also making sure that we are increasing the diversity of our suppliers. And it's great to hear how Periscope's best-in-class public sector eProcurement tools are helping our public sector customers deliver on those promises. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll be in contact soon. And here's the contact information for Periscope if you want to reach out to Brittany directly. Our contact information is here. And thank you, everyone, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you so much, Mary Jane.
Take care.